Have you ever wondered what living your true, authentic life would be like? And doing so fearlessly, undeniably, and unapologetically? Is such a way of life even possible? My answer is yes, it is. Welcome to my podcast, From Fearful to Fierce. My name is Sarah Odo Grossfather, and I will be using this space to share simple, easy to implement tips on how to become the best version of yourself by living authentically, unapologetically, undeniably, and fearlessly. From Fearful to Fierce is based on my FFTF trilogy, which is available on Amazon, by the way. A series on the importance of knowing, accepting, and loving one's self. So, whether you are struggling with imposter syndrome, self doubt, or just looking to level up your confidence game, this podcast has got you covered. So, get ready to take on the world one fearless step at a time as this podcast unravels and tackles some of the issues that prevents us from becoming the best version of ourselves. Once again, I'm your host, Sarah Odo Grossfather. Who are you? Ask anyone this question, and chances are the person will begin by telling you their name, their work title, marital status, where they come from, and so forth. Basically, all the external tags that identify them. Not that these answers would be wrong, but the question is, are external tags all a person is? Now, let's put a pin on that for a moment. Why would anyone want to know who they are? Why would they want to focus on getting an answer to such a question that seems so kind of obvious? After all, they've been living with themselves for a while, and knowing who they are has to be a given, right? Well, not necessarily. Let me start with my own self. You see, I began questioning who I was when I felt I wasn't being the real me. Like everyone else, I wanted to be the best version of myself. And that was where the problem really began. I wanted to be the best version of myself, but the irony was that I didn't actually know who that self was. Who was the self I wanted to become the best version of? And if you don't know who that self is, how can you become the best version of it? How can you become the best version of something you don't really know? Because wanting to become the best version of something or anything is already an admission that the initial or former version is not good enough. But if you don't really know that version, how can you tell whether it is good enough or not? Again, let's put a pin on that for a moment. What does it mean to be the best version of anything or yourself for that matter? When we discuss here about being the best version of ourselves, we are talking about the version that is real. In all of us, wear or have worn a mask at one point or another in our lives. What this means is that we are or have appeared differently or to different people or in different situations for whatever reason. Which is why when we begin a journey of self knowing or self awareness, we are essentially saying we are going to live our authentic, true self. But becoming authentic demands courage, the courage to step away from the crowd, to look inward and to see yourself as you really are rather than as you would like to believe that you are. It demands frequently being the lone voice in issues that might make or that will make others uncomfortable. It demands going from the norm to the abnormal. Yes, when you start to becoming real, people will think you are being abnormal because they are not used to seeing you like that. It demands going from the light to the ignored. And again, yes, because when you start to change, because authenticity means you're changing. And when you begin to change, most people will not like the new you. I can guarantee you that. And so they will do either of two things. They will try to bring you back to the person they used to know, the person they are comfortable with. And when that fails, they will start to cast derision on your character or plain out ignore you. So, yes, self knowing or becoming authentic demands courage because you're going to encounter a lot of opposition, even within your family or within the circle of those you think love you the most, or not even think that you know love you the most, because let's face fact, nobody likes changes. Everybody likes their little comfort zone, even with people that they know or claim to love. They want that person to just remain exactly as they are because that's what they're used to. So, how do you know that you're becoming authentic? What are the tags that will identify you as someone who is authentic? Firstly, you will know what matters to you. You will know what your values are. You cannot be authentic without knowing what your values are. You will know the personal principles you would never compromise on. And finally, you will begin to ask yourself this core question: knowing what I now know about myself, what would I do differently if I had to relive my life? Knowing what I now know about myself, what would I do differently if I had to relive my life from scratch? I think that's a question that we all should ask ourselves every now and then. Anyway, when you begin to answer these questions honestly and unapologetically, without frills or blurring of the reality to make it more acceptable, you will be well on your way to becoming an authentic person because you'll be living life based on who you really are rather than on who others would like you to be. The thing about living life based on other people's expectations is that such a life will be lived firstly. And a life that's lived firstly is a life half lived. And a life half lived is a life without joy. It's a life that's very stressful. Because think about it, you'll be constantly wondering if you've pleased someone who you have not pleased, if you've done one thing right, or if you're doing another thing not quite right. You'll be so focused on how other people are feeling that you will forget how you are feeling. And the thing is, if you're not happy, you cannot give happiness to people that you love because you can only give what you have. And if you don't have joy, you cannot give joy. And we are talking about becoming the best version of ourselves here. If you're not the best version of yourself, you cannot give that best version to someone. And if you're not being authentic to yourself, you will never be able to give authenticity to another person or to your loved ones because really you can really only give what you have. And so the question once again is, who are you? Are you living life intentionally? Are you being your real self? Are you living life authentically? Are you living your authentic self? Because only through living life authentically and real can you truly become the best version of yourself. And that is what this podcast is all about anyway. So, who are you? Because again, ultimately, a life falsely lived is a life badly or half lived. Thank you for tuning in. Once again, this is From Fearful to Fierce by Sarah Udo Grosswagner. Until next time, keep striving to become the best version of yourself. Live intentionally, be unapologetic, be bold, be fearless. Before I forget, don't forget to subscribe to my podcast, like the different episodes, and press the notification button so that when I bring out new episodes, you'll be notified. Thank you very much. Until next time.